Countless studies claim that stress is the focal point of many of the health problems experienced by today's executives. The reality, however, is that it's not stress that causes health issues, but how people respond to stress that causes problems. To help us learn how to respond to the inevitable stress we all face as leaders, we'll hear today from Amanda Gore. A popular author, Amanda Gore has over 15 years of clinical research experience, and she's a leading authority in group dynamics and self-management. Listen as Amanda Gore explains how to become a stress buster.
How to become a stress buster. Today we're going to be talking about stress, what it is, what it does to you, and what you can do about it. Okay guys, now how many of you wake up every morning full of energy and vitality? Oh, nice job, Carlos, nice job, I'm thinking. Now what about how many of you go home every night full of energy and vitality? Well, she's thinking about it. Well, there's usually one. How many just want to remember what it was like to have energy and vitality? You know, well, this is the place to be this morning, because today we're talking about stress, what it is, how to get rid of it, and how to work with it. So let me just ask you another thing. Imagine you're on a roller coaster and you're getting to that deep divey bit, you know, where it's going, and it's about to go up the other side. What are you thinking at this time, or feeling, I should say? Now, are you hysterical with joy, thinking, whoa, what a great adrenaline rush? Or are you thinking, like I would be, why did I do this? As my face is being plastered back like this. Or don't you care? You just couldn't care less. You just came on this because your spouse or significant other or child wanted to go on the thing. Now think about what it'd be, and then quick, turn to the person next to you and tell them which it is. Go, quick, tell them now. No, you have to go this way. Here, you have to play with her, that's right. Okay, that was enough. That's enough time to work it out. Now, how many thought that it would just be the best thing since sliced bread? Oh, most of you. You are sick adrenaline junkies, I just have to tell you. How many would think that it was the worst thing that they've done in 100 years? I'm with you. And the rest of you, how many neutral? Don't care. Just in a group this size, you can sense the differences. And you know, it's the same event. It's the same event, but we're all thinking differently about it. And that's really what stress is. If you think about it, if this is your head, very attractive head, there we are, and what happens is that some event occurs in your life, and then you say something to yourself about it, or you have a perception of that event, and then physiologically you respond to what you're saying to yourself, and that becomes a physiological reaction. Now, if you're somebody who hates roller coasters like me and about 4 of us, when you're going on the roller coaster, you are saying inside your head, oh, I'm gonna die. And your whole body goes, oh, we're gonna die. And it goes berserk, releases adrenaline, and you feel sick as a dog when you get off that thing. Now, for those of you who loved it, the event happens, you're already excited beforehand. You're on this thing going, this is great. And your body's full of endorphins. And so it's a completely different reaction from the first one. And for the neutral person, you get on the roller coaster, think, well, how long is this going to take? And your body stays exactly the same. So it's really a choice point. But once you understand that, and we go through the sorts of things that stress does to you, then you realize you have a lot more control over it. And the Harvard Business Review, in one of its recent editions, talks about why smart people underperform. And really what they're talking about is that the amount of stress and information and knowledge coming into people these days puts them into brain overload, which then stops their brain functioning in any way, shape or form effectively, because we start to go to the old brain system. The thing that will be key for you is to understand what stress does to you. Because when you can see the warning signs, then you can actually do something about it before you're in hospital with an ulcer, or you've had the heart attack, or something else ghastly has happened. So what I want you to do is to draw an outline of your body on the piece of paper that's in front of you. So you can tell art was not my major at school. There we go. Let me just put a little bit. And so what we're going to do is to talk about the two kind of phases of reactions. One is physical and one's emotional. So for starters, I want you to think about how does your body react physically? And there are like a myriad signs that you can get. Tight jaw, grinding teeth, sinus problems, neck pain, back pain, heartburn, gut problems, leg pain, tightness of breathing, tight chest. So there's like 10 gazillion things you could write down. And I want you to mark on the body where you get your symptoms. And if you want to, you can write a front and a back. So you can do it, completely that way. So write on your little body where you've got the symptoms. This one's a little bit funny here. But, if you have tightness in your chest or your heart feels funny, you might get headaches. You might have neck pain. You might have back pain. Very often people get a tight jaw or they grind their teeth. That's supposed to be teeth. Some people can get tingly. Now you should have more than one, by the way. Don't just think you've done it easily. If you go, oh yes, I have trouble with my jaw. That's usually just the kind of end of the trail. By the time you notice something like that, there have been about 312 little signs leading up to it. Now, I want you to turn over the page, or if you've only drawn on half the page, then draw on the bottom half of the page. But draw another little body outline, because we're going to do the emotional signs and symptoms that you get when you're stressed. Now, these ones will be things like your fuse becomes very short. You're not thinking very clearly. You get angry. You stay angry. You're frustrated. It doesn't matter what's happening, you just feel depressed, or you're hopeless, or you feel very anxious. You have butterflies in your stomach. Again, there's like 10,000 signs because everybody's different. So think about the emotional reactions that you get to stress. So, and again, it's all what you say to yourselves, but talk to yourself about what you feel when someone comes in and does something that makes you think, oh, I'm in trouble. Now that's going to help you understand, like, I don't know, there's a cute Disney movie where Goofy's walking through and Mickey's the boss. And Goofy's happy as Larry, and he's standing there and he's walked into work, and Mickey comes into the office. And Goofy goes, hi, boss. And Mickey just, and stomps past him. Goofy goes nuts. He goes, oh, I've done something wrong. I'm not going to have a job. What's going to happen to me? Oh, my, oh. And then they focus in on Mickey, who didn't even hear Goofy say hello because he was distracted thinking about something else. Meanwhile, Goofy's hysterical, convinced he's about to be fired. He's anxious, he's tense. So those sorts of symptoms, we won't go through you sharing them again, but I want you to pay attention to those, because when you start to notice those, you've got to do something to bust the stress. Because remember the Harvard Business Review, which just gives credibility to something that we've known forever, that when you get stressed, you don't operate properly. And by the way, there was a new research study done on, I think at Yale University, and they've discovered that men and women react differently to stress. Well, duh. So the traditional research shows that when a man is stressed, it's the old fight or flight. So men they're full of testosterone, something happens, and they're stressed, and they're either going to punch someone in the nose or run. That's the kind of theory. Well, for women, they've discovered that when women get stressed, we tend and befriend. That means we get together in clumps and we talk. And talk, and talk, and talk, and talk. And we keep talking until we've covered absolutely everything that's bothering us. And at the end of it, nothing's changed, but we feel great. And that's the way it works. And this drives men nuts at work, because women, when we get stressed, we're going to try to talk to you about the problem. We're going to see what it is. We're going to find another one. We're going to talk to her. We're going to do. And for guys, they don't want to know. They just want to go in a cave, get it solved, and then get on with things. So understand there's a lot of differences, but there's a lot of similarities as well. And now the other critical thing to remember is that we don't have a mind and a body. We have a body-mind. So that anything you think affects your body, anything that happens to your body affects your thinking. Remember that, because the two are totally integrated. We do not have two, and if we do have two separate things, you're not in good shape. They need to be completely integrated. And a few of the things we do today will help you stay in that area of managing yourself and keeping the stress levels low. Because once you reduce stress, then your emotional intelligence goes up. But let's quickly have a look at little strategies that you can use to bust stress. So I've got an exercise for you to do, and so you need to put your pens down when you've got a second and add these numbers together. Okay, so I'm going to go through them and you add them. 379, add 24, now 36, now 18, now 12, now 400, and now 836. Notice what your breathing is doing. You're all sitting there. Not only did your eyeballs freeze, but most of you stopped breathing, didn't you? Like the very first thing that happens when you get stressed is your breathing becomes very shallow. You almost stop breathing. Now, your brain's the last organ in the body to get oxygen. So when your brain's got no oxygen, you ain't thinking smart. But that's what happens when you get stressed. So the first thing you have to think about is remember to breathe. And it isn't just one breath. You have to have 2 breaths to get rid of the stress buildup, the physiological buildup. So everybody, while you're writing, you can take a big breath in. Now, don't do it like this, okay? When you breathe, you don't want to go and have all the air go up to your shoulders and have everything in your face get tense and your neck. And then, so relax and let the air get down to the base of your lungs, because when you're stressed, it's up here. So big breath in, down to the base of your lungs and out. And it's the breathing out that's the important. Now, do it again, one more. And out. Beautiful. Now, when you do this, if nobody's around, do it more specifically. So you breathe in and blow the air out. And you can't just kind of go, because it doesn't work. It's a real yoga, get it out. Okay, so one more time. Ready? And nice job, and nobody spat. Excellent, excellent. Okay, now the other thing, this is a very sophisticated technique that helps a lot with breathing. You know, our bodies are one giant bioelectric current, literally. We are a bioelectric current. And you know every electric current has a force field around it, right? Now, we too have a force field around us that's quite significant, and it extends out quite far. When somebody comes along to you in your leadership role and they dump on you, have you ever had anybody do this? Like they come along and go, well, can I talk to you for a minute? And then they, blah. And when they finish talking to you, you walk away weighed down. You stomp away, going, I felt all right before this. Literally, people can come and dump on you. Now, when they do that, you have to get rid of that stuff before you go on and be good with the next person. And so this is a very sophisticated technique with a very sophisticated name. It's called Flick the Stuff. Now, see, when someone comes along and they dump this stuff on you, you have to get rid of it. So this is how you do it. It involves the 2 breaths. You are going to wipe the first half of your field with the first breath. You go like this. And scoop all the stuff off and flick it off like that. And then you take the second half and flick it off. Now, some of you are looking at me like I'm a psycho. Like this is a management program and we're doing flick the stuff. But you know, these techniques work. So we'll all do this on the count of 3. You can stay sitting, but it's better in standing. If you're on camera, you can practice this afterwards. So hands up and a big breath in and wipe half the field. And flick, not at me. Excellent, excellent. Good job, guys. Most of you missed me. Okay, now the other half. And excellent, excellent job. And I know it sounds a little bit cosmic and a bit silly, but you know, it's called emotional intelligence. If you're going to manage yourself, you have to find things that work. It doesn't matter if they don't sound sophisticated. It doesn't matter if they're not expensive or complicated. And it seems to me too many people want to go for those complicated solutions that take so much time, a quantity we just don't have today, or a quality we don't have. So they're just a couple of quick things, but they work extremely effectively. And then the third thing, this is also another one that's very simple, but works very well. What's the first thing you say to yourself when some disaster occurs? Yeah, it's, oh no. Let's say you pick the phone up and somebody says, "There's been an emergency in the manufacturing plant." Most people, when they hear that, don't go, "Great." Most people go, "Oh, no." Do you have any idea what happens to your body when you say, "Oh, no"? Your whole body goes, what? Red alert, send the adrenaline, panic, something's wrong, panic. Literally, the second you say, "Ah, no," your body goes nuts. You are pouring out adrenaline. You're pouring out cortisol. Now, adrenaline's not so bad. Adrenaline goes through your system, destroys your kidneys, goes away. Not so bad. But the cortisol, bad. Cortisol lasts for 5 hours. It's a toxic bath for your brain. It literally goes to your brain, sits there, and eats the brain cells. The latest thing we've learned about cortisol is that it stores abdominal fat. So if you're going to react with, "Oh, no," and spend your life stressed, you are going to make yourself stupid and fat. Not good. So you want to make sure you react differently. Remember, it's all about that head I drew on the chart. There's an event, there's what you say to yourself, and then there's your reaction. So you really have a choice. So instead of going, "Oh, no," I want you to catch yourself. And instead go, "Oh, that's interesting." Now, you cannot say, "Oh, that's interesting," because you don't trick your body. But when you go, "Oh, that's interesting," then your whole body goes, "What's interesting?" and releases a completely different set of chemicals. Now, some of you are looking at me like I have 3 heads. It's like, she's joking. No, this is true. Literally, when you say, "Oh, that's interesting," you release a totally different set of chemicals from the stress ones, and ergo, you respond completely differently. So we have to practice that, because I want to make sure you all get the head nodding too, because it doesn't work unless you go, "Oh, that's interesting," which is easier for women to do because we're used to moving and speaking, whereas most men keep themselves rigid every time they speak, and that means you're intelligent. And ladies, I'll just share with you that if you want to appear intelligent in front of a man, this is actually how you should speak. And you will see that even though I'm not really saying anything particularly intelligent, for the first time, every single man has suddenly gone, because this is the way men communicate with each other. And as soon as I slip back into female speak, the guys go, "Oh, look, a blonde." No, guys, it's just the way women communicate. So you can do this too. It's good practice for you for communicating with women as well and busting their stress. So on the count of 3, "Oh, that's interesting." Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. "Oh, that's interesting." Excellent. Now, the last thing we're going to look at, even though this doesn't sound much like a management tape, but we are talking a lot about emotional intelligence, is worry. Now, how many of you worry? Well, that would be everybody. And I want to share with you something that will really transform the way you think about worry. You know how in all sorts of Olympic sports now, they do mental rehearsal. Have you heard that? Now, mental rehearsal is where you vividly imagine yourself performing the way you want to end up. So obviously winning if it's a sport. Mind you, in management areas, you can do it. You vividly imagine, so you pre-live the experience you're about to have. Vividly imagine it. Add color, light, sound, all that sort of movement. And if you vividly imagine what you want to have happen, it is far more likely to happen. All Olympic athletes mentally rehearse at least 3 hours a day, at least. It's considered one of the most important things they have to do. I think the original research was done on basketballers. And basketballers, they had a bunch who practiced shooting baskets. That's what you call them, isn't it? Baskets? Yeah. And they had a bunch who didn't practice physically, but they mentally rehearsed, and a bunch who just sat around. Well, guess which bunch performed most accurately at the end of the exercise? The mental rehearsal guys, not the physical. Because when you mentally rehearse shooting physical baskets, you set off micro-muscle coordinated movements that are the same as if you were shooting a perfect basket. So you're actually preparing more effectively. Now, if we know that vividly imagining what you want to have happen makes it more likely to happen, let me share with you what worry is. Worry is vividly imagining what you don't want to have happen. So if vividly imagining what you do want to have happen works, why would vividly imagining what you don't want to have happen not work? In other words, when you worry, you make it more likely that what you don't want to have happen is going to happen to you. So it's critical we stop worrying. Now, I know about worry because my mother used to worry when there was nothing to worry about, just in case she was missing something to worry about. And so I grew up a worrywart. And this technique is what stopped me. Again, it's very simple. You can tell by now, that would be me, simple and uncomplicated and very sophisticated again. Now, on your desks, you'll see a rubber band. So would you mind picking up your rubber band and putting it around your wrist? Now, you have to make sure, this is very important, everybody out there, that you have a rubber band that is loose on your wrist, because otherwise your wrist and hand will fall off. So it's very important the rubber band is loose. And you just walk around. If you're a worrywart, you walk around with this rubber band on. Your brain is very much like Pavlov's dogs. You remember Pavlov's dogs? You know, they'd feed the dogs, ring a bell, and feed the dogs, ring a bell, feed the dogs, ring a bell. And after a while, they could ring the bell and the dogs would salivate, anticipating the food, even if the food wasn't there. So our brains, our body minds are very trainable. At the moment, what you do, worry, 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 panic, 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 adrenaline, hormones, go, whoa, worry, blah, sick, not good. What you're going to do now is interrupt that stream. So I want you to listen to what you say to yourselves. And the next time you hear yourself saying something that's worry, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make that promotion. I don't know about that report. Is it going to be good enough? What am I going to do? I got to do a performance appraisal. What am I going to do? I don't know how I'm going to do it. The next time you notice this, I want you to pull that rubber band way out from your wrist, and you are going to let it go. And I don't want you to do a wussy one, not this little, well, this is not going to hurt, you know. I want it way out here so it's going to hurt. And but I must add a codicil, because people are not always sensible. Do not cause excruciating pain. This is meant to smart, not hurt extremely. So you are not to do damage to yourselves, you are to be sensible, but this is a way of reminding your brain to stop having the bad thoughts. So you think, and suddenly you're aware, bad thought, out comes this, snap it back. Now, some of you are going to do this till there's a little bit of blood on your wrist. Just kidding, not real blood, just pretend. And your wrist is pretty red. But once you've done that a number of times, it's extraordinary how your brain learns to stop doing this. And after a while, you don't have to worry about the rubber band, but it can stay on your wrist as a reminder. And again, look, I know it sounds silly, but I truly stopped myself worrying using this technique. And I did have another technique. It's called the worry book. You get this little teeny weeny, you know those notebooks you can get bound up? And that's called your worry book. And every time you think of something about which you want to worry, stop worrying, but write it in your book. So you write in the book, you close the little book up, put it in your pocket or put it in a purse or something, and you carry on. And the next time something worry is going to, you worry about, you can write in the little book. And at the end of every day, you are going to have 5 minutes to which you will devote worry. That's all you're going to do. 5 minutes, 10 if you've got a lot of worries. 5 or 10 minutes, and all you're going to do is worry. Make it very systematic. And it's between 6 and 10 past 6 every day. And you pull out the worry book, and you sit down, and you go through, and you worry. You worry like crazy. You worry vividly with great imagination about what's going to happen. And you know the amazing thing? By the time you've gone through a couple, you've torn out half the pages. Because what you started worrying about, what you were thinking you were going to have to worry about, by the end of the day, it's gone anyway. So they're very silly little techniques, but they work well. So let me ask you, are you feeling like you understand stress just a little bit better? And that you have a choice over it? Because it's all about perception. Everything that happens to you, you can look at as good or bad or neutral. Or, better still, as a growth opportunity.